Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee together here at 12:44. First order of business is motion to approve minutes of prior committee meeting. Who would like to move that? Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Garrity. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to rearrange a little bit, but first I'd like to just start off the first meeting of the year here with for the Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee. The purpose of this committee is to provide oversight of critical and fundamental departments that direct and serve for the health, safety, and welfare of our county residents and visitors. Secondly, we ensure, do the best we can with what we have. We balance the wants and needs of our departments with the ability to fund and maintain them. And thirdly, we set policy and guidance for the departments that will affect the best provisions of the health, safety, and welfare of services within the context of our county, the wants and needs. And then I'd like to set forward the intention for this committee is that all of our discussions and all of our actions produce a safer, more just and fair, more resilient, and responsive place to live, work, and enjoy for all, and to be a shining example for other counties to follow. So that's set forth for the year. If I may rearrange the schedule a little bit, because we do have an attorney that's on the clock here in front of us, and I would call the sheriff's agenda up first. And Sean, would you like to please come and present and invite Mr. Johnson up?
Sean's an attorney.
Chairman, I'm going to go over our regular business first, and I'll ask the sheriff and Mr. Johnson to come up and speak. On our action agenda, item A is requesting a resolution to amend the county budget to reflect revenues we received from the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee Traffic Grants Program. There's Child Passenger Safety Grant in the amount of $1,050 for child seats, and police traffic services in the amount of $16,500 for enforcement overtime.
Okay, thank you. It's moved by Supervisor Sokol, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion?
Sure.
We'll call the motion here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second?
Item B is request a resolution to appropriate funds from the general fund unappropriated balance to cover the cost of a PBA settlement. This is a request that was sent to us by Deputy County Administrator Tammy DiLorenzo.
Okay.
I'd like to move B through E. These are all appropriating funds, please.
Is there a second to Supervisor Sokol's motion? Supervisor McGowan again on the second. All those motions are on the floor. Any discussion? Sean, could you explain some of these were taken out of unappropriated fund balance, just for background on that? What's the
In the most simple terms, during the budget process, the budget officer told us that he removed some items from our budget, and at that point in time he said he just wanted, to use his words, pay cash for them instead of rolling them into the tax levy. And I was directed to bring it back through the committee process and again request the same monies that had been pulled out.
Okay. And Budget Officer Thomas, that's a good plan still?
Yeah. The sheriff vehicle request was $297 and budgeted $199,600, and leaves $97,400. Sheriff 3110.260, equipment $38,200, and 3150, function time 250, equipment $32,050.
Okay. Good. Any further discussion on these items? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries all the way through, which section was that?
3. H.
No, E.
E.
Through E.
Right, so are we on F?
Item F is request a resolution to amend the county budget for 16 state interoperability grant. It's $71,448.96. It's monies that are still available to us that just need to be rolled from the 18 fiscal year to 19.
I'll move it.
Moved by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Item G is request a resolution to amend the county budget for the 2017 state interoperability grant, again carrying money from the 18 into 19 in the amount of $58,551.53.
Moved by Supervisor McGowan, second by Supervisor Hogan. Any discussion? Sean, how long can you carry these over? How long do you have them?
Most of
till
these
spent?
grants run several years, and sometimes you can ask for extensions on them.
Okay, thank you. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. H.
Request a resolution to amend the county budget for FY18 State Law Enforcement Terrorism Prevention Program in the amount of $19,994. Again, this is a carryover from 18 into 19.
Okay, Supervisor Sokol, second by Supervisor Simpson. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Referral and pending items.
At this point, I would ask the sheriff to step forward. You want to make a statement?
Okay.
Good morning, all, or good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Excuse me, started morning. At the last meeting of the year, your full meeting, there were some concerns about medical issues, lawsuits, and some folks on the committee asked if I would get somebody here in a legal capacity. I felt it important that we get Greg Johnson, who's represented us very well over the last 11 years, handling lawsuits from many things, but including a lot of inmates in the county facility, which includes a lot of medical issues. So I figured I'd bring Greg up. He has his own law firm. It's Johnson & Laws, correct? And does a great job for us. So thought I'd come up, he'd give you a little background of some of the things he's done, and then you guys can ask your questions.
Great, thank you, Sheriff.
Greg Johnson.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. So the sheriff asked me to, obviously my perspective on this matter is I'm your outside litigation counsel, so when there's a civil rights claim involving the jail or inmates, oftentimes your liability carrier will appoint me in my office to defend the county or officers who are sued. So I've been doing this for the county. I think I've had the privilege of doing that for about 15 years. So I think I could sort of break those claims into sort of three categories. There's a period of time in the early period where you guys had no outside medical provider, and then you had a medical provider who didn't provide contractual indemnification, and then there's the more recent period you have a contract with a medical provider that provides you with contractual indemnification. I did a quick look this morning just to see how many cases I've had with you folks that have made it to court, and over the last 10 years there's actually been 10. 7 of those have all been resolved without any indemnity payment. 1 of them is still pending, and 2 of them were resolved. So the sheriff asked me to sort of tell you, at least from my vantage point, how these claims work and what it means to have a medical provider and for the county. Obviously, I'm not a medical person. I'm a civil rights defense lawyer, so I'm looking at it from the law enforcement capacity. But I have seen sort of all 3 of those scenarios. At least recently, I'll start with the more recent cases. Your current provider has, at least in all the medical cases that we've had involving inmates, they've immediately stepped up to their credit and assumed a portion of the defense costs. And they also have cooperated with the defense. Typically, these lawsuits happen when there's claims against the law enforcement, and then there's claims on the medical side. Typically, that's how the lawsuits are brought. So there's some medical claims, and then oftentimes there's non-medical claims. So far in the last several years, your current provider has their own insurance provider, PRI, has worked together with your provider, which is NYMER, and cooperatively defended those in a fairly effective way in the last several years. That hasn't always been the case. Like I said, the first 8 or 9 years, there was no medical provider, and you guys were directly hiring your medical staff. And then there was a period of time when you had, a short period of time when you had a medical provider who did not contractually indemnify. We actually had one case with them, and we actually had to go and NYMER actually engaged us on behalf of the county to sue them to get them to participate and contribute, which ultimately they didn't do. So that's the quick overview of where we have been over the last 15 years as I see it from your defense counsel perspective, and the sheriff asked me to come here and make myself available for any questions you might have.
Greg, before you get questions, when we had to sue the medical provider or other medical provider, we end up having to pay something on that,
Yes.
and that was because we didn't get any help from the medical provider.
Correct. And you basically, you had NYMER defending two lawsuits. You had NYMER defending the lawsuit by the former inmate, and then you had NYMER sponsoring a lawsuit against the medical provider to try and get them to contribute and provide some cost of defense. And ultimately, NYMER and the county, I was up here many years ago talking with you folks about that case, ultimately decided the most expedient thing to do and most prudent thing to do was to resolve the case rather than having a twofold litigation, which is, of course, draining resources.
So now this medical provider we have now, they provide for defense.
In the two
We're indemnified.
Yeah, in the two cases I've had, they've immediately taken up half of the defense costs, and they also have been cooperative in terms of your choice of counsel. So when your liability carrier decides, I want this law firm or that law firm, it's not always my firm, then that's obviously important, because typically I and the other counsel who work with you have a relationship with you, understand a little bit how you work. So I would say two good things. One is that they've immediately stepped up and provided that defense, but also they haven't tried to argue over who should be their counsel and, brought somebody who's unfamiliar with the sheriff's office or even law enforcement altogether to come in and be your new defense counsel, whether you like it or
Well,
not.
that's why we felt that, the sheriff's office, felt it important that we always use Greg, because he's familiar with the goings-on in Warren County, and he's represented us well in the past. So to try to bring a new attorney on to bring him up to speed is a waste of time and money. So the fact that we're able to get Greg every time we need him is really beneficial to the county.
Any questions I can
Supervisor Bramer?
Thank you. Thanks for coming today.
Sure.
It's really appreciated. Do you work on other counties where they have a different service provider for medical services in the jail? Do you do any cases?
I do. I represent many different counties, and to be honest, I don't keep track of, I don't want to qualify my answer, I don't keep track of actually who the medical provider is. Typically, they immediately get their insurance company to engage with me. So typically, I've never dealt directly with your medical provider. I've dealt with their insurance company.
Right.
So the answer is yes. I do the same kind of work for many counties, and they have a variety of different providers, but I couldn't honestly give you the full list because I usually deal with their insurance companies.
Right. Well, my question, can I follow up?
Follow up?
My follow-up question is, do you have any sense of how our medical service provider stacks up to other medical service providers in county jails where they're getting sued? Like, do you think that we're getting sued more often than others, or no? Or if you don't know, that's okay too.
Yeah, I don't have a sense on the medical side. I just don't. I don't have that opinion because I only deal with the claims that get down the current, the river to me. As I look back at the suits that Warren County's had, I can't see a material increase in the frequency of claims, particularly on the medical side. So it's been relatively consistent over the last 10 or 15 years based on my look of the cases.
Supervisor Conover?
Yeah, the indemnification, is that a corporate indemnification? Are we naming, is additional insured on their insurance, all of the above?
It's a good question, and I don't know. All I know is that when I get a claim, I immediately put the contract provider on notice, and then their insurance calls me up, and so far in the last several claims we've had with your current provider, they immediately pick up, and I bill half my bill to them and half the bill to your provider. So contractually speaking, I've never looked at your contract, so I don't know. All I know is the way they've behaved, which is it's been a relatively seamless process in the last couple of years.
Any other questions for Attorney Johnson? Okay.
All right. My pleasure. Have a warm day.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff Lamoury, would you care to take up any of the topics for discussion, or are we good?
Yeah, the last item that we had was just bringing up the committee up to date and the board up to date with the number of vacancies we have in our corrections division. We currently have 9 vacancies for correction officer and 1 for a corrections sergeant. If you're not aware, there was a additional statewide exam for the position of correction officer. It's the first time in as long as anybody can remember that they actually issued 2 exams in the same year. This is a problem that's not unique to Warren County. It's occurring statewide right now. Nobody's really sure what the reason is, maybe because the economy's doing well, because people don't want to go into this line of work. That's up for debate. The good news is we finally got a civil service list, and now we can move forward with hiring people off that list.
Good. Good luck with that.
Any other questions while I'm here?
Supervisor Wild?
Thank you. Sean, the vacancies, are we losing people to the state? Or are we just losing them because of the quality of life that they have?
We do lose people to New York State Department of Corrections. There's a significant pay increase if they take that position. We lose people for a variety of reasons. It would be unfair to say that the majority go to New York State docks.
Very good. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Now give the floor to the assigned counsel. Joy?
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? I'm here after 11 years to finally provide you with a new assigned counsel plan that can be filed with the Office of Court Administration and the Warren County Bar Association. I'm looking for a resolution to do that and get that.
Did you provide that to the committee? Is there a printout for it?
Excuse me. Yes, I did. I sent it this morning. There was a corrected copy that I sent. So it was emailed this morning. I'm not sure if it's been printed out for everybody.
Okay, and I see this just showed up onto our agendas as well from the website. Give us a little background on this.
Well, for 12 years I've been trying to get this plan finalized so that I can enter into contracts with private attorneys to save the county money. At one point we did have that, but it's gone through several versions with every different county attorney and every different board. It's sat and grew molds for quite some time, but this year I pushed hard to try and get this thing finished, and now we have an actual working copy that will complement everything that Oils has instructed us to do and bring us up to speed. Even though this county's never done anything wrong when it comes to providing the service of assigned counsel, we were not one of the counties that were sued, but we've always done it correctly. Now this is just going to finalize the deal, so to speak.
Okay, and this is the Hurl Herring compliant, as
Correct.
you say, so it is up to speed. You have been hiring private attorneys for
Not on contract. I don't
Oh.
hire private attorneys, they are vendors. This will allow me to enter into a contract with a small firm or a large firm to cover one particular court, which will save the county a ton of money.
Okay. Supervisor Bramer.
I'd make a motion to move this forward.
And where does this go forward from here?
Amy?
To the full board? Okay.
Once it's approved, it can then be sent to the Bar Association and the Office of Court Administration, and hopefully they will approve it. Our last assigned counsel plan was sent to the Office of Court Administration, and I don't think they ever acted on it at all, positive or negative. So hopefully we can get it approved, and once that's done, then we can also start implementing a conflict offender.
Oh, okay. And
You have a second on that?
Yes. Did you make was there a motion?
I
Yeah.
motion.
And then second by
I'll second that.
Supervisor McGowan. Okay, further discussion? Has this been reviewed by the county attorney's office?
Yes.
So it's all set to go?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody comfortable moving this forward without having read through it? Well, hearing no objections, we'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. It carries. On to the full board. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I'd like to bring to the floor District Attorney.
Thank you. You're going to see, for us, on the action agenda, request to fill. It appears we're filling 3 positions. What's happening is our 5th Assistant District Attorney has accepted a more lucrative position, and he's moving on. And so what I'm hoping to do is move in my next most experienced into the 5th, my next most experienced into the 6th, and then fill the 7th position. These are all existing positions. At this time, I'm not asking to change the salaries. They are what they are at this point.
I'll make a motion, we do 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, 3. Motion and seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion?
I don't have this agenda. Sure, 1, 2, 3.
Jason, do you want to explain that the way the District Attorney's office is set up, your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, is it basically a hierarchy, is it?
Yeah, this is something that's always, I'll soon be 20 years at the office. That's how it's always functioned. So some of that is by operation of law, so that you have to have a 1st Assistant District Attorney. So if something were to happen to me, they would, by law, fill in until a governor appointment or an election. The rest is sort of what I've seen throughout counties of our size. Bigger counties sometimes will have bureaus, so they may have a sex crime bureau chief and then segments beneath that. We don't really have that much size here, so this is sort of by experience. Our most experienced prosecutor also happens to be the 1st. Our next most is in the position of 2nd and onward down. So, for example, the person who's currently in the 6th position has been with the office prosecuting for 2 years. The person would be moving up. He's been with us a little over a year. He was an attorney outside of the office, but it's really based on, for the most part, internal experience as a prosecutor.
Thank you. Yeah, Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the person that was in the 6th Assistant DA position is moving to 5, and he's getting a 10% raise?
Yeah. If you want to talk salaries, I can do that for an hour and a half, and I'd be happy to.
It was just a little misleading when you said same salary.
No, what I want to explain is all the position salaries are unchanged. So the 5th Assistant salary is unchanged, the 6th is unchanged, the 7th is unchanged. The people that fill them might experience a change if they move into these new slots.
Based on steps,
Yeah.
where they are.
Yes.
No, wait, hold on. Supervisor Hogan first, then Supervisor Bramer.
If we're losing people, do we need to talk about making changes in salaries?
I do think that's something that's going to have to be looked at. I can tell you that you're looking at 3 attorneys here with experience with the county, and if you go to Washington County, the starting salary for an opening right now is $68,000. Washington is $88,000. So I've gotten 1 application so far, subject to board. I put this out as subject to board approval. I've gotten 1, but I'm pretty confident he's applied to these other places. Yeah, I've got real concerns about where we're at compared to surrounding counties.
And to note, the 7th, the beginning one is $52,000.
Correct. It's 52. I'm rounding 52, 54, 60. These are for experienced attorneys in our office. I can tell you that they are looking. I've been told some people are looking because of surrounding counties' salaries without requiring that experience.
Supervisor Bramer and Supervisor Garrity. Supervisor Bramer.
I'm going to defer, because I think Garrity has...
Supervisor Garrity.
I've been working with Jason and the county administrator. We do have a plan to address the salary structure in the DA's office at the next personnel meeting, so we can try to work this out. I know he is losing people. He's very concerned about that. We're looking at the salary structure. We hope to have something for the personnel meeting.
Thank you, and that's from the chairman of the Personnel Committee. Supervisor Bramer?
Thanks. Jason, I don't want to question you, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Please do.
Is there any, I just am cautious about filling your 5th, what if someone applies for a position and they would be more appropriate for the 5th and you've already filled it with the other person?
Well, one
Are
of
you
the
not
things...
thinking
Well, I'm sorry.
that anybody with that caliber of experience would apply for this?
Well, the entry level for surrounding counties is 68, 88 for the two that have openings right now. The reason I know that is when I posted this at 52, assuming that I would be permitted to do this, and I put it subject to board approval, I saw the other salaries. I reached out to an intern that had worked for free, who had just interned and was learning about the office, who had graduated, and I said, would you be interested? And she said, I just took a job, my first job as a prosecutor, as a lawyer. And I said, if you don't mind my asking, what are you, and she's from here. I said, what are you getting? She said, 68. I've got people that have been with the office for 4 years prosecuting for, they're doing heavy-duty work that are making what an intern who's just started is earning in another county. So I didn't realize how much things had changed. I do now. And trying to get someone with experience to fill a slot when we're so far, I mean, we might be 30 to 50% below some of the other counties at these entry levels. And if anyone wants to look at it, I would look inside this county and look what attorneys earn. Look at what the 7th earns. Look at what other people are earning. I'm just telling you what
And
I'm
the
seeing.
PD's office.
What's that?
I'm going to have to throw out there the PD's office attorneys too.
Well, you can look at any attorney. And then I think the reality is we have a lot to do. You just heard about assigned counsel. The PD's office does their segment of work, and then there's a whole assigned counsel system that does theirs, and then there's private attorneys. We do all of that. Every case that the PD does, we do. Every case assigned does, we do. Every private case, we do. We also do all the appeals. We're here all the time, and right now at the numbers that I've got, I'm at risk. It's not hard. These people can go on the internet and look, and they do, and they talk. And when someone leaves for something better, word is spread quickly that, hey, you can come here. And what I'm hearing is, and this isn't brand new. This is new since I've been here. I'm losing my first. We've lost people over the years, many people, and what I hear is more money, less work, less stress. That's been sort of the same thing I've heard over and over. And that's what I heard with this attorney who said he'd like to be here, but he's getting a 30% pay increase and he feels he'll be working less.
Any other questions for the district attorney? Supervisor Simpson.
So the stress, is that from not having enough attorneys, or is it stress of the pay? The way that question was.
We have
we're at 7. Are you staffed correctly?
No, we're not. I know it's all. Look, I didn't expect to get all these questions.
I'm trying to get an understanding.
No, I was here yesterday with another attorney. I had a meeting here. Everyone's working mornings, nights, weekends, and that's nonstop. It's a tremendous workload. I don't know if we're in a heavy season, but I can tell you from back when I was the first assistant, the DA at the time would say, we just got to get through this week. And we've been existing like that for quite some time. And I've always known that keeping county budgets under control, and I'm very conservative and financially in my own personal life, is a big important thing, but I'm seeing things changing around me to the point where we are really, it's a concern, because when you're working people to the extent that these people have to work, we all have to work, and then their salaries are so much different than what they're seeing around them, it's inevitable what will come next.
I was just trying to get it. You answered it great,
Painting a great picture, right?
Supervisor Hogan.
Question for, is personnel going to be addressing the salary as well as the number?
That's correct. I mean, one thing you got to consider when you're working with the DA's office is, like you said, they prosecute every case, and when you look at the public defender and assigned counsel, you could be talking about as many cases, but he has 7, and there is a plan in place. I think Ryan's been working on a salary schedule that we can do intelligently and bring it to personnel committee hopefully this month to try to get something worked out. But, and also the specialization that he has certain people in his office that specialize in certain aspects, even though they have to do all the prosecutions. So, I mean, it's coming to that point. It used to be just the opposite, where the DA's office was always here. But when you look at the amount of assigned counsel cases we get, the public defender, the way that's gone, and they've got grant money to pay for some of their attorneys, so maybe they offer a little bit more than we can the DA's office. So yeah, we're working on it. We hopefully will have something this month to bring to the committee, and you'll favorably agree with us. We're hoping.
Yes.
Is that right?
Supervisor Wild?
Very good, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Garrity, as you go forward with that, let's not forget to factor in that these attorneys get to work with Jason.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they can climb a mountain with them.
Look, I'm trying, right now with this opening, I'm trying to sell, hey, it's Warren County, it's the best place in the world to be. And I'm saying that, but, you know, some of these people coming out have 200,000 plus in student loans. So as much as, and as wonderful as it might be to work with me, and just don't ask anyone.
Why did they stick for 7 years? Don't they get that paid? Doesn't that get wiped out?
If you work for state or county for 10 years and you pay all your student loans without missing one, there's a loan forgiveness program that applies to some particular loans. So that would be true, I believe, in the public defenders, in many government work, including as a prosecutor. So it's 10 years, consistent without missing any payments, and after that there's some loan forgiveness. Not every loan counts, but yes, that's a huge thing. That would lead to hopefully retention in our office and of course in the public defenders and elsewhere.
And if I can roll back for laying out about the purpose of this committee here is to set policy and provide guidance for departments that will create the best provisions of health, safety, and welfare services within the context of our county, our wants and needs. And obviously, there's some needs here to provide this. As prosecutors, you provide a lot for victims of crimes and such, so this is an important...
Well, I can tell you, we just finished a murder trial that I did with another attorney late December, just before Christmas. We have a felony trial that's just concluding today. We have a jury out. We start a felony trial in 2 weeks on the sex crimes. We have a murder trial that's scheduled to start 2 weeks after that. We have another. Those take tremendous resources to do those. In any trial that we do to verdict, in my experience, there's an appeal. We just finished an appeal over the weekend related to a sex crime trial that I did 2 years ago. As I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Alexander West case, the resources we had to dedicate post-trial to appellate work it's hard to describe how much energy and time goes into that and resources, and we've just gotten on our Court of Appeals piece decision that they're not going to accept that level appeal. We're doing all those appeals. I think Rebecca Nealon, since she's been in the office, has been involved in 30 appeals. She's also prosecuting domestic violence, the opioid court. She may be working 70 hours a week, and she's not the only one. And so I look at it and I tell them all, you got to be fair, you got to do what's right. And I'm looking what's surrounding them and what they're doing, and I'm questioning whether I'm being fair. And I know that's not all in my control, but I want to do right by them.
Thank you, Jace.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
We didn't vote on the motion.
Oh, well, then I better stay.
Yeah. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Good discussion. Probation now has the floor.
Good afternoon. I have a couple of quick resolutions I'd like to present to the committee. The first one is to enter into a contract with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Southern Adirondacks for mentoring services for youth under the age of 18. As we discussed with Raise the Age, we look to incorporate different services in our community that we think are valuable, and mentoring is an evidence-based program, and one that we think could be valuable to this population. Big Brothers and Big Sisters is the gold standard of what we do with mentoring. So we've had numerous conversations with Bill Moon from Big Brothers, and they're certainly agreeable, contingent upon them having enough mentors to do it. So what I'd like to do is enter into a contract with them. We currently do not have any money to provide them. They understand that. I put in money with Raise the Age funding. We've amended our financial plan, not only to put in money for mentoring, but also to put money in for an employment and training program. To date, I have not heard anything back from the state regarding the approval of that plan. So our contract with Big Brothers and Big Sisters would be a contract for services, and contingent upon the exchange of money would be any funding we get, whether it's through Raise the Age or any other appropriate sources that we see that we can actually get that money for. So with that said, that's something we would like to do.
Okay. Moved by Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Discussion. Supervisor McGowan.
I would just like to state that my wife does work for the probation department under Bob, and I would like to just abstain to voting on this for any of the probation agenda thing.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes. Any timeline?
The contract we'd like to do as soon as possible. However, mentors are hard to come by, and the population we deal with adds a little bit extra. So the recruiting of the mentors may take some time. So we're probably talking about 6 months out before we can actually potentially have mentors that would fit this population.
And funding?
And they're willing to do it without funding to the extent that they can. I'm hopeful within 6 months we hear something from the state, but it's been a long time. So, but yes, I would think that within 6 months we would be able to be in a position to have funding and to have mentors.
Thank you. Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, I question, why are we entering into a contract when we have no idea whether we're going to fulfill this or not?
I think what we want to do with the youth we deal with for mentors is we want to provide anybody we're going to refer our youth to for mentoring, we want to make sure that they're a quality program. And with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, we have that. So we want to ensure what we're referring to the agency is something that is a gold standard and something we feel comfortable with.
So, in follow-up, are we going to be referring people now, even though we don't have funding?
Yes, once we enter into a contract with them. If we have referrals and they have the mentors, we will be referring to them.
And then another follow-up, are we going to be expected to reimburse them even though we don't have any money? Okay. Then I'm in favor. Thank you.
Okay. Then I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
And the second resolution is for myself to attend a conference, the American Probation and Parole Conference in Miami, Florida. No cost to the county. All costs will be paid by the New York State Council of Probation Administrators.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Sokol. Any further discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Quick discussion points. We talked about Raise the Age. Again, the numbers are coming in, still slow and manageable. We have not heard anything on the financial plan. I'm hopeful within the next month or two we do. They're starting to approve plans, so we'll see. I suspect within the next couple of months we should hear something. And the other thing to look forward to for this year for the probation department, in the governor's executive budget and in his State of the State, he talked about bail reform and cashless bail. And if you read into it in the simplistic forms, the governor would like to get rid of bail for misdemeanors and nonviolent felons. To do that, you do more appearance tickets by police officers, and by having the judges have the ability to, obviously they have the ability now to release on recognizances, but a lot of that would be reporting to a pretrial agency within the county. The probation department here, we do run a pretrial agency. We do have a release under supervision program. We do have 50 or 60 people report to us via phone and in person on a regular basis. And there's the potential with this new legislation for them to have more people reporting to us. So we would have to look at the numbers coming in. That is manpower. To see how that affects us. So I just bring that to your attention now. I will keep everybody apprised. My reading of the law, of the budget and the bill would indicate this won't go into effect until 2020, so we have some time to prepare. But I give you that because that's something that will be, I think that we get a lot of publicity as the year goes on. So
Well, then I'd like to ask, is this something that the county should advocate for or against? Put in our...
Via NISAC, I think that we're supportive of the legislation as long as they reimburse any cost that would be borne by any county agencies.
And the chance of that is?
To some extent, probably probable.
It's not a double negative.
I mean, I think that it's been hammered with the Department of Budget that people have to report someplace. These are county entities. There's money that the county spends to do these type of things, so I think it's realistic that they will fund this to some degree, as well as the state funds anything. But this is a big issue for NISAC. They've been on top of it. There's position papers that are out. Our association's in the process of writing one. I think it's something that's coming, so I don't think there's any stopping it. And I think we can argue whether it's a good or bad idea, but our concern is that we are reimbursed for any additional costs that may come to us.
Thank you. Any other questions, Robert?
Just a follow-up to that, to the last statement. I'm curious, if we are getting rid of the bail, is there going to be some shifting of funds that might come from the jail that we normally would have applied towards these types of individuals that could be shifted from the jail?
I can't answer for the jail because they do have staffing patterns, but I think that's one of the takes that the state will be, that you may have less people in your jail, and therefore you can shift your costs. Similar as they talked about with Raise the Age, that if one person's not doing this, then you can take it from here. But that's probably an unrealistic point of view from the state, because there still will be the ability for judges to set bail on those type of cases. It just will be a process of how they do it. So, and again, I can't speak for the jail because they do have staffing patterns and those types of things where they may need people in certain pods regardless of if the numbers diminish. But that'll be a push by the state to say that that's probably a way that you can fund it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Done with probation. Call to the floor. Office of Emergency Services. Oh, Public Defender. Sorry. Sorry, Public Defender. I was jumping down. I was jumping down the schedule there. Sorry.
Good afternoon. For those that don't know me, my name is Robert Greger. I'm with the Public Defender's Office. I'm filling in for Ms. Flores today. Lucky enough to be in Florida, not in the -3 weather.
You have to talk faster.
I can if you want. I'm from New Jersey originally. I'm here with just requesting 2 resolutions. Number 1 is that the council or the body approve a resolution to allow us to apply for a indigent legal services grant distribution that would fund our confidential secretary position for the next 3 years. I don't know if the body wants to handle each resolution request separately, or this is my first one of these, so be gentle.
Well, it's two resolutions.
Correct.
Here, what's the board's pleasure? Committee's pleasure.
I'll make a motion to move them both.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Bramer, I hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. Discussion. Anything you'd like to add to it? No. Okay. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Very much.
Bye.
Okay, well, there's...
Hey, Rob? Rob?
Yeah.
Did you have a travel request out of state?
I believe that got pulled from the agenda at the last minute, from what I was told.
Okay.
That was just those 2. I know there was a travel request originally in there, but I think it got pulled.
Yeah, so it's just the 2. Thank you. Okay. Office of Emergency Services. Brian, you have the floor, I'm sure. Last man standing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First order, actually the first 2 items are carryovers of monies from an FY16, 2 different grants, to bring them over into the 2019 budget. I'll make a motion on 1 and 2.
Okay, move for 1 and 2 by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Wild. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3 is a travel request for 3 of our EMS coordinators to attend the EMS conference. This conference, we do send people to every year, and those dollars are in our 2019 budget.
Bring to the floor Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion. Only one hotel? Only one hotel room?
There's 2 different hotels.
Sorry. Okay.
3 guys.
Call the question? Yeah, it was moved.
Yeah.
Yep, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4.
4 and 5 are requests to apply for FY19 grants. One is the Homeland Security Grant, and the other one is the Local Emergency Management Performance Grant.
To the floor by Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Merlino. And, did I see, is there a match on this one?
There is on number 5.
Number 5, okay. Any discussion on number 4? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Is that everybody? Opposed?
It was a weak one.
It was a weak one. There we go. Motion carried.
Must be
Number
hungry.
5. Yeah, the request is,
That's for the Local Emergency Management Grant. This 50/50 grant covers half the salary for Amy. We did do both.
I thought we did both.
We did both.
we did both 4 and 5?
4 and 5. 4 and 5.
Sorry about that. Okay. Moving so fast here, hard to keep up. Number 6.
Number 6 is to apply for the FY19 Hazardous Materials Emergency Preparedness Grant.
Supervisor Sokol, second by Supervisor Bramer. Discussion. Supervisor
I have a
Wild.
question. Brian, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there any synergy between the county and the towns for some of these different programs? Are the towns required to do these kind of things also? Homeland Security, emergency management?
It runs through the county.
It all runs through the county. Thank you.
We try to include them in projects and stuff, but it does ultimately has to come through the county. One of the big problems we have, you may have seen it mentioned there, we've been told by our grants people quite vehemently that the longer the federal shutdown goes on, the shorter the time frame we will have to actually make these applications. So we are very concerned as things move along here. They've already shortened it in the last few years. We've had maybe 2.5, 3 weeks to do an application. We may even be shortening that, so that's one thing we're concerned about.
And Brian, you go for this hazard material emergency preparedness grant. Have you applied for this before?
Yes.
Yes.
These are all ones we do annually.
And so this is a continuing program that you have?
Yes.
Any further discussion, any questions? Okay. Call vote for number 6. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Number 7 is a request for out-of-state travel for Amy Drexel, my deputy, to attend Homeland Security training at the down at the academy in I lost track. Anyhow, Emmitsburg. And this is the third of the 3 trips necessary. This will complete this entire program so that she will have the 3 projects, I say projects, or areas that she needs to have training in order for our office to be complete.
Complete, like certified, or attains a certain level?
We're required to maintain certain levels, and in order to be able to receive some of the funding that we received, we had to make sure that we had someone on staff that met that requirement. So she stepped up and has been the one that has taken all 3 of these trainings to make that happen.
Thank you. It was moved by Supervisor Simpson and seconded by Supervisor Hogan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 8 is a resolution just to increase the project account for our training center. Because it's a 50-50 scenario,
When we do work there, we bill Washington County for half of that, so we need to put that money back into the project account.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion. How is the training center going?
It's cold. No, we're doing well. We just got approval for to have National Grid bring power into our facility. We were concerned at how much that was going to cost, and we were pleased to hear that National Grid's going to do it for free. Hard to believe, but yes, for free.
Good. Give them our thanks. So, yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? None? Motion carries.
You have some travel that's already occurred that was approved previously via the administrator. One thing I do want to bring up, an update on the 418 ice jam that I mentioned at the board meeting. That is still there. We are working on it. I sent some pictures around. Unfortunately, that was as of Friday. We had the snow that occurred, and with the cold temperatures we're having, we're still building ice. What I need to bring to you that's new is, as of this morning, we were notified by a National Weather Service observer in Riverside, that there's a jam there. Well, I was up there this morning already. DEC is there now with Amy, videoing that with a drone. The gentleman that lives at that point, who's also the observer, has been there since 1972 and has never seen a jam there. So we are a little concerned about that. We're going to keep an eye on it. So far, the ice has backed up and it has stopped. The water has increased in level. We're concerned about East Hudson River Drive. We toured that several times today. There's one residence that could be in danger should it come up a great deal more. That subject is aware of it and is packed and ready to go. So at this point, this is something this is a location we've never dealt with.
Riparious.
Yes, we've never dealt with this. If you go across the Riparious Bridge and look south, it's very easy to spot. So hopefully it's not going to be an issue, but as you all know, if you've been listening to the weather, we have coming up some warm temperatures, and then we have more snow, and then we're talking quite a session of rain. The rain is going to be the problem.
Can you call that off?
I could try, but I'm afraid I can't make that happen.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Simpson.
I just want to let you know, you probably already know it, but Grand Lake is at a level I've never seen this time of year.
Really?
Really high.
We're seeing that with a lot. We've had a lot of rain, as you know. The only good thing that's helped us, we haven't had a lot of snow melt up till this point. Now we do have a lot of snow that if we get a warm temperature and we get a rain, we have the snow melt plus we have the rain itself. One item of concern, which we're going to try to address, we brought this to the National Weather Service attention this morning. The gentleman in Riverside advised us that he normally keeps track of the gauge in North Creek. That's not one that we operate, that's operated by the federal government. Unfortunately, it's not working. Has not worked for 3 weeks, and they will not send anybody to fix it because of the shutdown. So we've asked the National Weather Service to see if they can put some pressure on them to see if we can't get that fixed. That's a gauge that works very well for us. It isn't going to tell us exactly what's happening in Riparious, but if the one in North Creek goes up 3 feet, you can be pretty sure the one down in Riparious it's gone up 5 feet. So right now in Riparious we're up about 4.5 feet.
And the jam at Riparious is below the Riparious Bridge, it sounds like.
500 yards below it. It's not a long ways.
Not a long way.
Okay. What about the Glen Bridge?
The Glen Bridge right now is okay. Here's the secondary concern. The jam is one thing, and that can cause flooding upstream of where it is. The other thing that can happen, which is very possible, is it breaks free. It will then come down and jam into the area where the Glen Bridge is.
Which will then go down to 418.
Correct.
Okay.
Hence our concerns.
Yeah. Well, that's Kevin.
Not meant to panic anybody, but I did want the group to know that we are keeping track of it. We have a number of observers on the river that are very helpful in giving us phone calls and letting us know what's going. And also, between Amy and I, we inspect this twice a day. So, We will be keeping a handle on that, and we've been very fortunate. DEC has a drone operator locally, and he responded within an hour today, and we'll keep going from there. You saw some of the pictures there. We can see so much more with those pictures than we can driving up and down the road.
Amen.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank God.
Any other questions for Brian? Okay. Hey, before adjourning, I'd like to call together an EMS task force on January 31st after the Legislative and Rules Committee meeting. Would that work for everybody? No? The 31st? You want to come down for a whole nother day?
What time?
The Legislative and Rules is at 11 o'clock, so let's say 12.
12?
Yeah.
You buying lunch?
All right, I can do 12.
Okay. Brian, would that work? Talk to Mickey, she'd make it available. Kevin? Kevin? Could you do the 31st, Friday, after our committee meeting?
If you promise to move it along.
Sure.
What's the committee? What's in the morning?
Task force.
EMS
EMS task force.
1:31
It's just be updated with information, see where we're at, and the next step.
Blake, can I have that time again?
Yeah, after the Legislative and Rules Committee meeting.
I don't have that on my watch.
Oh, that starts at 11.
So we're looking at noon time?
Noon.
My minutes.
All right, we'll shoot for noon
My
then.
meetings go 4 minutes.
Holden, you
12 o'clock?
Mine goes 7.
15 because we got to spend money at the DD's office.
11:30?
Okay, 11:30, Chairman?
We'll be here at 11:30.
11:30, thank you. Good.
Yeah, we got a special board meeting that day too, right?
That's 9:30.
Okay, board meeting at 9:30.
Okay.
We're good?
We're good, thank you. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Supervisor Hogan, second by Supervisor Simpson. Meeting adjourned.
Wow. That's a lot of...